Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of P2G Live. For those of you who are joining us for the very first time, my name is Majid Boris and I'm your host. And tonight we have another special guest in the studio with us. Now this gentleman doesn't really need much of an introduction, but if you have lived out in the sticks or you've been hiding somewhere, then maybe you need a bit of an introduction for him. So without further ado, see he gets that kind of an effect going on in the room. Without further ado, we would like to invite Moe Nawaz into the studio. Mo, welcome to P2G Live.
Thank you.
Good to have you with us, Mo. Now, you have a wealth of experience when it comes to businesses and running businesses of your own, advising people on business strategies, mentoring FTSE 100 leaders, people of high net worth. But before Moe Nawaz became that Moe Nawaz, who was Moe Nawaz? What was the journey like and where did it come from?
Very simple. I left school with no qualifications. I couldn't spell them. I still can't spell them to this day. Along the way, I've had a lot of casualties, so to put it like most businesses out there, I've had ups and downs, and I've probably had more shares of the downs. That finally got me to the level that helped me to produce more ups. Sometimes, we need failure in our destiny. I'm not saying it's a good thing to have, but we need to fail a few times to appreciate the good things in life. Most of the time when you have average or above average and you don't see the bad side, you never appreciate the good times and the bad times. So really, journey for me, I did a 5-year apprenticeship as an electrical engineer and then moved into retail sector, opened up a family retail store, and then we expanded those and built them into a television rental business, which we sold off a few years later. And from there, it just went from one thing to another. And after I sold the first business, I ended up in America. This is going back about 30-odd years ago.
Okay.
I spent time with Jay Abraham, who became my very first mentor in them days. And some of the things that I learned from Jay, which still is ingrained into me, was the non-linear thinking, and that is something that I've been very fortunate to have that insight, to be able to look at things when everybody else looks at a linear problem and they find linear solutions. I'm always looking for the non-linear solution. And 95% of the businesses out there look at problems and come up with a linear solution to it. I'm not in that 5% then who helps clients to identify the non-linear solutions to linear problems. And it's just a habit. After a while it becomes natural, like anything else, it becomes ingrained. And from there, went into the business turnaround sector, helping businesses to recover and turn around underperforming, failing businesses. And I think one of the biggest breaks that I had was AAA Fasteners, which we helped to salvage, and that was in about £36 million a year turnover. And it just lost a major contract to what was in then, which is now Land Rover. In them days it was Leyland.
Okay.
Fastening contract, and we managed to negotiate a deal with GKN for £1, a third of the shares.
Wow.
The moment we persuaded GKN to take the stake in the business itself, the creditors backed off, and I thought, oh, this is a winning formula.
Yeah.
So we repeated it with a number of other businesses, and next thing, being asked to mentor. Okay, I'm being mentored myself, but I don't know how to mentor anybody. But after a while, you just go with it.
Yeah. You mentioned a particular term, linear and non-linear. How would you explain that in layman terms?
Okay, let's. I'll give you one of the examples on coming up with linear solutions and non-linear. A few years back, we had a client referred to us by a bank. This client had a portfolio of properties going into tens of millions, but his financial affairs weren't exactly the best. He owed debts, and he had borrowed first charge, second charge, third charge, and anybody else that he could borrow money from just to stay alive. And his repayments that he was making each month were around £800,000 a month, every single month.
Wow.
And he'd been to a number of banks, financial advisors.
Yeah.
Well, all these people obviously were looking at the traditional linear solutions to it.
Yeah.
So the bank manager in Mayfair phoned me up and he said, I've got a client here, but the only downside is he won't be able to pay you unless you can get him a solution. So I said, tell me a little bit more. Told me a little bit more. Met up with the client a couple of days later. And all we did was basically say, well, the linear solution is borrow more money or sell off some of the properties to pay the debts off. But unfortunately, a lot of the properties that he was holding were negative equity. But there was still a good income coming in from that, which he was still a shortfall of about £60,000-70,000 a month from the 800 that he was paying. So the rent that was coming in wasn't sufficient. So he'd been falling deeper and deeper in arrears. So we said, look, let's look at something different altogether. His payments that were coming in were at different dates. The money going out was all at different dates. It was more or less balancing out, but minus a shortfall. So what we did was we literally moved all the repayment dates till the end of the month. So as the money started to come in from the beginning of the month, we now sat on a pile of cash. And non-linearly, you say, okay, now we have, instead of looking at the negative side of saying that we're 70,000 short, we now have a pot as it builds up from from zero up to under £800,000. What can we use that to make money so it'll cover the 70,000 plus? And one of the things that we started looking at was going at the premium car auction. And we started buying up Rolls Royces, Ferraris and things like that, top end, and then selling them back to the dealers with the 10,000, 15,000, 5,000 pound premium price on them. It took me about a month to persuade the client to be able to do that. Within about 3 months' time, he was literally back into profit. He was actually making profit from that, and he literally loved the car auction more than he enjoyed his property business. But it's again, looking at the problems and not looking at what everybody else is looking at. How do you turn that around into an opportunity as opposed to a problem?
Excellent. Well, that's a really, really good example, actually, because yes, I mean, normally people in that kind of situation would be looking at it from just a purely financial perspective with those financial specs on, credits and debits and how do you make up for that? But you obviously went and turned it on its head, which was very interesting. Thanks for explaining that. For those of you who may have just joined us now, we're in conversation with the Millionaire's mentor and the mentor for the FTSE 100 leaders, who is Moe Nawaz. If you have any questions throughout this conversation, do put them into the comments section, and we will get our lovely assistant Brad Edwards to note them down, and we can ask Mo the questions towards the end. So now's your chance. Oh, by the way, we also have a giveaway, a surprise giveaway at the end of this conversation. So hang about, and we will reveal that to you towards the end. So Mo, I asked a question on, because we were having a conversation before coming on here a few weeks ago, in fact, about how people in business usually struggle for various different reasons. And one of the most common factors happen to be the reluctance or the fear of taking action. In whatever case or whatever facet of business it may be. It could be, if it's a risk-related action, or whether it's something just to go out and do something like even simple as networking, or even take action right at the beginning in starting the actual project. In your experience from the clients that you've had, tell us a little bit about why people have that kind of a fear, and what are the most common types of fears, and how you can overcome those challenges if people are watching this and they're relatively new in business, or they are maybe they've been in business for a while, but they've come to a stage where they may have hit a brick wall, but they've seen or considered other options, but they've just not taken action for whatever reason that might be. Tell us a little bit about your experiences.
I think part of the thing is with social media, the availability of books, the availability of all the mentors, coaches, and all the people giving you all the free information. People are overwhelmed with information, and again, without clarity of exactly what it is that they want and what it is that they're trying to achieve, it becomes literally like you get a rabbit in the middle of the road at night time, the headlights on, and it's just gazed, not knowing what to do, and they freeze in that sort of instant. There are too many small businesses who read all the books, go to all the events, go to the seminars, but when they come back to reality, they're not very good at taking action, so everything gets delayed, then they go after the next seminar, the next event. They pay good money. And in most cases, if they take action on even 5% of what they learn from that would earn them money.
Yeah.
But they don't. And then half the battle is the fear of knowing, what do I do? The typical scenario is now, and I've been partly guilty to this with some of my clients, the smaller the clients are, you need to make sure that they're taking baby steps.
Okay.
Now, you get the likes of the 10x formula. Everybody's saying, okay, if I 10x this, I'll get that. If I 10x that, if I 20x that.
Yeah.
That's fine. If you're a big organization, you can do
Yeah.
that. But somebody who's stalled or hasn't really got started and hasn't got that momentum going, they need to be showed structurally, how do you get a clear vision of what it is that you want at the end of the 12 months' time? And then 2 years' time, 3 years' time. So how do you roll it back to a 12-month period and then break it up into 90-day chunks? So you're now looking at the next 90 days. So I'm just going to make this up now. Say if I, at the end of the day, have somebody who's in the startup business, they want to get to £100,000 income, and they're looking to achieve that. So, okay, let's see what you're doing. What's your product? What's your service that you're providing? Let's break it down. To get to 100 grand, how much sales have you got to really do? You know, 100 grand is what you're going to be left with. So obviously there's cost if it's a product, then obviously the cost itself. Then we'll reverse that back all the way back to month one. So if in month one that person needs to earn like £5,000, and as you grow, you accumulate more.
Yeah.
So if he needs to earn that, we'd break that down to 30 days or 28 days and break it down. So, okay, this is what you need to be earning. But people are capable of doing that. Where they fall flat is they go into work and they go in without knowing, what am I going to do today? Most people are going into reactive mode on a daily basis without them realizing that, hang on, because I haven't got what steps I need to take, what systems have I got in place, what processes have I got in place, and without systems and processes to take you to your goals, you will not get there. Most people are so fixated on the goal, I want to get 100 grand at the end of the year, they don't then break that down. What is the system? What are the processes that I put in? And then bring that back to daily steps. So if I need to be proactive, if I'm working 8 hours or 10 hours a day, for the first 2 hours, what will I be doing? What will I be doing for an hour? How will my time be allocated? And it's so important that you proactively break that down every single day into 1 hour, 2 hour chunks to what you're going to be doing. So if you're doing an 8 hour or a 10 hour, you want probably about 2 hours that is reactive mode. The other 6 or 8 hours need to be focused on proactive, being what you want, not what others want. That's the only way you're going to get results, until you get that momentum going and get into that habit. That will get you going. Most people, unfortunately, don't have structure, don't have systems, don't have processes to generate inquiries. I mean, I speak to people from different backgrounds. They're all brilliant. Say, look, I got the best bottle of water, the glass of water in the world, but I don't know how to sell it. And really speaking, they don't know how to sell it because they've never been shown how to create systems and processes. I mean, LinkedIn, whether you're selling B2B or B2C, a lot of people disagree. That is a fantastic lead generator. People say, well, that's a B2B, it's not a B2C. And I say, look, you can sell anything on there. It's human beings on the other end.
Exactly,
they all buy clothes, they all buy, so it's... Get this out your mind. That it's
non-linear thinking again.
Exactly. And people are so fixated. Oh, it's a business directory. Yes, but the people on the other end,
there are people who are running
whether
the business.
Whether you're selling shoes or whether you're selling health products or services, regardless of what you're selling, they're human beings. You're far better off trying to target those than you are on social media and not know where you're going. And really, it's again how you look at things. And if the non-action takers, all they really need to do is to reverse engineer everything, look at the systems and processes that they need to follow every single day. Once they've set the goals, get that out of your mind. Just focus on the systems and the processes and your daily steps that you need to take. That will automatically take you to your end goal.
So it's a clinical process, isn't it? It's not something you just, Ahmed Khan, who made a comment on the Facebook page, we both know Ahmed, and he was saying people go into survive mode rather than thrive mode. So that's pretty much in line with what you're saying. You mentioned something really interesting. You mentioned the fear of not knowing what to do, because you've mentioned right now that the non-action takers are people who they don't do the active part, the proactive part consistently. The question arises, how do you know what it is that needs to be done?
Well, everything requires sales. Without sales, you don't have a business.
Yeah.
I mean, if I ask the average person in an audience of 100 people, what is the purpose of their business, they'll all say, well, to earn money, to have a good lifestyle, and they'll come up with a zillion and one things. And the purpose of any business at the end of the day is to acquire and retain customers.
Yes.
Sales and profits are a byproduct at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And if you don't focus on understanding what sales are, or you haven't got people that can handle that for you, then you're just a lame duck in the water, not going anywhere. Just looking at things. So, you know, the people that have already got businesses aren't taking action. They really need to look at the systems and processes they need to install. I'll give you a simple example. We had a client not so long back. What we did, we helped him to create his system and process, and all we basically installed him. We said, okay, here, get onto LinkedIn, get your profile up, get yourself Sales Navigator, and start connecting to 10 people a day, sending 10 requests out a day. Even if 2 come back or 1 come back, say, yeah, that's just 2 people that you can now start engaging with a couple of weeks down the line, but give them something in return for connecting with you. Don't try and bombard them with sales. And you start doing that. That's a system. So how long does it take you? Spend 2 hours, you know, prospecting. Spend another 2 hours writing out scripts to connect with them, to give them something of value, or to demonstrate what it is that you do, you know, who you do it for, and what sort of results they get. So you're now turning your day into a productive day where you're actually taking proactive action on things. And those are simple steps. And within a space of about 6-8 weeks, it started to see results. And most people just aren't prepared to, you know, sit down, put it onto paper. And before you leave the house in the morning, here's my list, this is what I've got to do today. But don't overwhelm yourself by trying to put too many things on a list, on a daily list. Put down, to start with, about 3 things that you need to do every single day.
Achievable things.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because if you don't, like, you know, you just get left out. No, at the beginning you will not get results. So you have to be determined to keep pushing until you see the results.
Because some people obviously have really big ambitions and they'll have big tasks or big goals, but realistically, to be able to achieve them in like one day, sometimes it's like, you need to reconsider what you're putting on your goal for the day. And when they're not achieving that, they're thinking to themselves, oh, well, they're making excuses again, right?
Well, I think partially I blame the coaching mentoring industry for that.
That's a very interesting topic.
Because there's an awful lot of people to sell their courses and things like, you know, here's my client who made 1.3 million in 6 months, and, you know, the likes of that. And people buy into that sort of thing. And expect those results. And if you read the small print, it's yes, one of my clients, out of 300 clients, you know, achieve that. The rest of you might not be able to achieve it, and there's every chance you will not achieve it. But you've got to really be realistic and say, what is it that I want, and why do I want it, and what have I got to do to go and get that? And again, there's an element of people that have come away from corporate world and set up their own businesses, and they've been in probably 4 or 5 times more in the corporate world, and they haven't got the self-respect to go back into commerce again, go back get a job. You'd be far better off, because they've told their friends, they've told their family and everybody else, so they're setting up. So pride then gets in the way, unfortunately. Instead of saying, well, hang on a minute, this ain't working for me. Let me go back, at least I can bring home at least a paycheck at the end of the month.
And it's knowing that where that balance is, isn't it? Because there's nothing wrong with being in a job.
Absolutely not.
And
absolutely
if it's at the detriment, if your self-employment is at the detriment of you know, or your family life maybe, or some of the financial responsibilities we have, but out of pride we're not going into a job, even though we know we'd probably be better at that, or might be better for the whole overall scenario. Sometimes I can see that happening, because there is a lot of that. But on the note of mentorship, Mo, what makes a good mentor? Because I mean, somebody asked the question today, where we sent some questions out. What would you like to ask Moe Nawaz? Somebody asked the question. I think it may have been Edwin Ladd. Asked the question about mentors. What makes a good mentor? How do you, with so many people, or with a sudden surge of mentors and coaches coming into the world of business and entrepreneurship, as has been noticed by the wider networking community, how do you distinguish between a good mentor and not so good? What kind of due diligence do you do?
Really speaking, there's a mentor, a coach, a trainer, a consultant born every minute.
Yeah.
By the time they get halfway through a book, halfway through a seminar,
Yeah.
they're already certificated and ready to go and, like, you know, fly the flag. You really want to. Most people don't really understand the difference between a coach and a mentor.
True. Yeah.
A mentor is somebody who's already been there. He's
Yeah.
already trodden that path, and he's now
Yeah.
going to take you on a journey on a path that he's already
Sure.
been on,
Yeah.
or he knows how to take you through that path where he's been on a similar parallel path to that. A coach might have been there as well,
Yeah.
but the coach will help to drive you, to give you the energy, give you the burst to consistently get there. He might not have been there, but
Yeah.
his job is to make sure that he's engaging with you, that he's giving you enough encouragement, giving you enough drive
Asking you the right
up your
questions.
ups
Yeah,
and downs,
yeah.
and keep you going.
Yeah.
So there's some fantastic coaches out
Yeah.
there, fantastic mentors
Yeah.
out there. But again, a lot of the people, I see mentors and I ask them, okay, tell me the difference between a coach and a mentor. And they're like, look at you, like, you know, if I'm asking a stupid question. They don't even understand the difference between themselves.
Yeah.
And in reality, what makes a good mentor is somebody who's already been there where you're looking to go.
Very interesting, very interesting. The reality is, obviously, everybody wants to make it up there. You do get the argument from some people, but look, you know, we've got to start from somewhere.
Absolutely.
You know? So every mentor will have his first mentee.
Yeah.
So if they are claiming that, you know, they can help somebody, in reality, you can, as you know, we can safely assume that, okay, give everybody a chance, give every mentor a chance, give every coach a chance. But I think it's it's when you get people who are claiming false things or romanticizing certain ideas within mentoring.
I'll give you an example. A few years back, I was with the electrical engineering business down south. They were doing about 7.5 million a year turnover, and they supplied blinds, electric blinds, and they only dealt with the top end. They were dealing with footballers, film stars. So the average invoice was about 50, 60,000 pounds just to fit electronic blinds all around the house. In some cases, it might have involved shutters.
Yeah.
And it was the daughter who invited me over to the meeting.
Yeah.
So as I got there, the father was sat there with the daughter, and the daughter kindly offered us some coffee. So she went up to the kitchen, and the father turned around and he says, "Listen, I've had coaches, consultants, mentors here, and they're a bloody waste of time. So the quicker we get this meeting over and done with, the better." And I said, "Oh, so you don't know nothing about me then?" She said, "I don't want to. But out of courtesy to my daughter, I'll give you the time." So normally I don't like going into any meeting unless they know about me, they've done the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I always do with any clients that I work with is ask them to take a Colby test. The Colby score test is basically telling me their DNA makeup. So his daughter came back and we sat there, and these guys just sitting there, like, you know, giving me the cold.
Yeah.
So I says to his daughter, I says, "Did you get all the family members to do the comp?" She says, "Oh yes, here's the scores." And you go, "This I've got to see."
Yeah.
So anyways, I start off with the daughter, and I said, "Look, you know, you're good at this, you're bad at that, blah, 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 blah. And these are the things that you need to focus on. So most of your time should be spent on that." Okay.
Yeah.
And he goes, he shows me his, the old man.
Yeah.
So I looked at his and I said, "Well, from you I can tell, like, you know, what you enjoy doing, what you dislike in the business, and these are things that you are good at, and these are things that you don't particularly like. But there's a possibility you are spending time on things you don't like."
Yeah.
And he looked a bit surprised. He said, "Here's my wife. Now tell me about my wife." "And you've not met her?" I said, "No." So I goes through. I said, "Okay, she's very good at systems and processes, and she's very good at creating systems from scratch, or amending and altering existing systems and processes in place. Anything else that you ask her to do, she will not do. She'll do it, but she won't enjoy it."
Okay.
And he's like, "Are you sure you're not my wife?" So he gives me his son's one now, and I looked at the son and I said, "Well, this person likes doing things with his hand. He likes, I would imagine, in this business, he's probably the ideal sort of person who's out in the field, enjoys going out, meeting people, seeing people, working with people, and doing things with his hands, making things." And he unfolded his hands and he got up and he said, "Mo, I owe you an apology.
Oh, wow.
Can we start again?"
Wow.
And it's trying understand, okay, what have I got to do now to convince this person that, you know, he needs to be listened? Not out of arrogance or anything else. It's again trying to understand where they're coming from. And I don't blame you. I would have probably done the same had my daughter brought in a number of people. And his own words to me were, "Yes, we've had people in here that have read a book or two, and you know, textbook theory consultants."
Yeah.
But you know, to sort of come back to answering your question, you need to do your own checks on the person, maybe references, maybe go and look at their accounts to see what sort of turnover they're doing as well.
Yeah, interesting.
You know,
Interesting.
and maybe not. Don't get me wrong. There are good coaches and mentors who probably aren't earning that sort of money, but you know, they have the knowledge and the experience. And it's not to say that everything has to be done diligently, done this way or that way.
Yeah.
You know, do your own, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Excellent, excellent. You know, again, you mentioned something really poignant, which was about giving something before you expect anything in return. Now, on your social media activity, I see a lot of advice or story-related material where you put things into context. It's contextualized. People understand where they're going with things, and you're offering a lot of your own experience and I guess mentorship to people without people expecting, you know, to pay you for it from the beginning. And then you get some people who kind of argue, well, you know, why would you want to give so much value away without charging for it? How do you answer that kind of a...
That's relatively easy, in all fairness. If you are playing in an arena where you have the competition fairly fighting each other, how do you demonstrate your abilities? And I think I might have said a couple of days ago or a few days ago in a post that it's not who you know, it's who knows you and what you do. If you're not demonstrating that consistently over and over and getting your message across to the right target audience, and then you're not doing your job. You're not a good marketer. And at the end of the day, really, you need to be focused on what is my message to market, who are my target audience. You know, and most people say, well, anybody that's in business. No, it isn't everybody. And I'll tell you what, one of the secrets which most coaches and mentors don't know, and the reason they don't know, is the reason they're struggling is in the self-improvement industry as a whole, the average number of people that really genuinely want to improve themselves, whether it's in business or in sports or anything else, is between 1% and 3%.
Okay.
And they thinking that, hang on, if I get a room with 100 people in there, really 70 people should buy from me.
Yeah.
You've got to look for that 1% to 3% that really want to. And one of the ways I was taught was go and put it in practice. So I went up to our golf, a membership at the golf club. And I asked our pro there, teachers and coaches, I said, how many members have we got here? So it's just over 600. And I said, how many people have lessons from you every month? And he said, oh, we have at least 60, 70 people, at least maybe 100 people that get lessons from me every month. I said, that's good, but how many are consistently getting lessons off you? He says, probably less than a dozen. Now that comes back to that 3%. So most people want to dabble in self-improvement, but nobody wants to do that small, very small percentage that genuinely want to take that action and really want to improve their business. So hence you will always find that battle of trying to persuade people. And part of what I put out there, the content, I'm not looking to motivate people. That isn't my job. I'm not a motivational speaker. Some people occasionally accuse me of, and I'm not. That's not mine. My action is to inspire people to take action.
But accidentally motivated by you.
Well, so ideally, I'm looking for people that are already motivated to take action, and they now want some inspiration to achieve their dreams.
So from that 1% to 3%, that who you identify as are the ones who are serious. How do you find them?
Well, again, what you're doing is you're looking out there. It's a constant battle of marketing and advertising. Most people are scared to ask for the sale. So, I mean, if you take Facebook, for instance, I probably have less than 5% of people that are my target audience. But I have a sensible amount that are connected to people. It might be the PA of an MD of a large corporation, or it might have a sister who's the PA to a large corporation. So it's, what are you doing to influence them? Once you understand who your target audience is, and you know the audience that's out there, if a small percent, how do I influence more of those people who can then go talk about me, talk to their other friends? How do I spread that message? So what's the value that I can give them so they want to talk about me?
Okay. So coming back to, because here's the interesting question, because those questions that you've just asked are, I guess, related to the original question, where we're going back to the conversation of taking action. Now, how do people get out of those shackles of fear or that fear of taking action or fear of failure and or failure of success even. I've known people to be failure of what if it worked? What will I do then?
The sort of people who normally you're talking about are people who have actually gone into business, that contemplating setting up in business.
Yeah.
And those I call the people that have a dream.
Okay, dreamers.
So they've got a vision that I'm going to launch the best bottled water that there is.
Yeah.
And they dream so much about it that they just see the end journey.
Yeah.
So when they're depressed and down, they'll go back to their little world and dream about that little success. So it gives them, in a way, the parallel to that is the people that buy the lottery ticket. And if you ask people, why do you buy that lottery ticket? Most of them say, it's that 2 or 3 minutes of pleasure, of happiness that I might win.
Yeah.
And this is a dream for a lot of people, what they want to do or what they want to achieve.
Yeah.
But 99% of them will not take the first step to turn that into reality.
Why is that?
The fear behind that is that if I take the step and it doesn't work, I've got to go find a new dream to think about. I haven't got that comfort zone. Yeah. So whenever they're down or depressed, they go back into their little selves and the dream, and it makes them happy. But the moment they hang on, I'm going to turn that to reality, and if it doesn't work, I haven't got another dream. That dream shattered now.
Yes. Okay. So what about people who fear, or not fear, who have the obstacles of the financial elements? Because from the list of the things that people mention to us, that what restricts them or prevents them from taking that action, sometimes there's a financial obstacle. What advice would you give to them?
Most people, with the greatest respect, when they feel that I need this amount of money before I can do that, of kidding themselves. Yes, in a rarity, maybe 3-5% of those people genuinely need that to get that started, where we're talking about big money.
Yeah.
In most cases, where we're relating to small money, people are really on a hiding to nothing. So let me explain to you. If I ask the question of 100 people, what is more important, having money or having the right product or service? And most people will say, I'd rather have the money. I always say the deal is more important than the money. If you have the right deal, people will always invest in it.
Sure.
Most people come up with crappy deals. Hence, I need £10 million to finance this deal for this water, when they haven't even gone to the extreme of trying to prove the concept.
True.
And then they expect money. But I need the money to prove the concept. I need the money to market. Well, nobody's going to give you money to go burn money on marketing for something that you haven't even convinced them of.
Yes, exactly.
So again, get it beyond the concept stages and work on getting the deal. Yeah. If I've got a property and I go and get 10 surveyors, 5 surveyors put a value, and they're all saying $1 million, and the guy says to me, look, I'll do your deal now. If you come up with a 900 grand, I'll do your deal today. Well, that's not exceptional deals. If I run around loads of places, I might just be able to raise that money. But if the guy came to me and said, Mo, I'll give you 600 grand if you get me the money within the next 24 hours, I'll have people biting my hand off to put the money in. So it comes back again. What is it that you need the money for? If it's a good deal, then it's never shortage of money. Unfortunately, most people got crappy ideas, crappy processing and things that they want to put into place they require money for, and they're wondering why nobody's giving them the money.
And it comes down to the proving the concept. I mean, I think proving the concept doesn't even just work with the product-based industry, but also the service-based industry.
Absolutely.
You're a classic example. You're proving the concept by the advice you're giving free on social media. It's an investment of your time rather than a cost of your time, as you would probably see it. And most people don't realize that. They think that, that for me to actually take time and post stuff on social media, I'm not getting paid for it. But it's a very short-term or short-sighted way of viewing things, I guess. And that's why, I guess, if you're demonstrating your technical abilities or knowledge and experience and all the other things that come along with it, and then you get the testimonials with that, that's all an investment, isn't it? You're proving the concept through your knowledge, your advice, and the discussions that are taking place. Like asking somebody to give you advice on social media when they don't have much of a social media presence themselves, it just doesn't balance out, does it? But just for the viewers at home or people who are watching, we are in conversation with Moe Nawaz, the mentor to millionaires. If you haven't already guessed it, we're already 40 minutes in and we're pretty much towards the end and we were just getting warmed up. So if you have any questions, put them down in the comment section. Brad, do we have any questions?
We do have a few, yes.
Oh, brilliant. If we can get those questions in.
Just apologise, the sound was a bit the first 10 minutes.
Okay, no problem. No problem, that's fine. So if we can get those questions over to us, we'll get them questions answered because we have gone into 40 minutes now. And really, we would want to carry on, but let's ask these questions. So we have Edwin, we all know Edwin. Edwin asks, how did you get your first clients? Oh, this was a very good question actually. How did you get your first clients as a mentor and how did you win the trust of that client? Now, what he was referring to in that question was the big clients.
Okay.
And I think you've kind of semi-answered that from the history that you've given us, but if you can clarify that for us and maybe people who have joined later on. Yeah.
One of the corporates that I'd actually did a turnaround job for, which we ended up selling to one of the large stock market listed companies. About 6 months down the line, I was brought back in by the MD for lunch. We had lunch, and he said, "Mo, I've got a senior sales manager who we would like to appoint as a sales director." But so far, reluctantly, he said no. And I said, "Well, James, that's not what I do." I'm convinced that if anybody can persuade him, you can.
Yeah.
Because the way you persuaded us to buy a failing company that nobody else would touch, and the way you stacked it up for us made sense.
Yeah.
And anybody else had coming up, we probably wouldn't have purchased that company. But we done a deal, and now it's working for us. So, hence you're back here. So, can you? I said, "Well, not really. Honestly, he said, it's not something that I do." He said, "Well, there's a big incentive at the end of the day." And I said, "Like what?" And he put a figure on it, and it wasn't far off 100 grand. And I'm going back a long time. 100 grand at that time is probably equivalent to about $500,000 now.
Wow.
So, and I said, "What happens if I can't get him to take the job?" He said, "Well, if you try for 3 months and he doesn't, I'll give you half of that."
Oh, okay.
I said, without. So I said, "Well, tell me who the person is. Give me an intro to him.
Yeah.
And when can I start?"
Yeah.
And I was a bit nervous, to say the least, but I thought, well, hey, you're going to get half that money anyways. So, anyways, his secretary took me to the sales manager, introduced him, said, I'd like to spend a bit of time with him. And I said, "Look, your MD's sent me in here. He's asked me to help you to make a decision about becoming the sales director." And he said, "Look, you're wasting your time. I've had everybody from within the organization trying to persuade me I'm not interested." So we sat down there and talked about just general chit and chat. And I must have tried for probably about 3-4 weeks, and by this time I was almost ready to give up. And the one day I went down there and went to the canteen, had lunch with him, and then walked back to his office. And he says, "I tell you what, I'll give you that much. You're very persistent, aren't you? But my answer's still no." I said, "No, I'm not trying to persuade you. I'm not trying to persuade you." And then all of a sudden, it just dawned on me. So I reached out to my briefcase and I pulled out this sheet of paper. And by the way, just to backtrack a little, the reason he was saying now he'd revealed to me was that all the rest of the board of directors were all people from public schools. And they were well above him. He was the guy off the council estate. And he felt that he would be the laughing stock for the boardroom, for them to laugh at. So no matter what I said to him, that wasn't the case. He wasn't buying it. He wasn't having it because they're all toffee-nosed snouts, and I'm the guy off the the council estate. I'm not going to fit in there. I like my job and I'm happy with what I'm doing. So I thought, okay, got nothing to lose. So I pulled out the contract and I says, "Do you realize how much faith and confidence your MD has in you?" He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "This is what he's prepared to pay me for you to say yes, and this is what he's going to give me if you say no within 3 months." That's not real. That's like, 4 times my salary, 3 times my salary. I said, "Well, that's what he's paying me." He said, "That's not real." phones up, goes up to the managing director's office.
Yeah.
We walked in there. Mo's just gave me this. Is this right?
Mm.
Mo, you weren't supposed to give him that as confidential. I know, but you know, just hold on.
Yeah.
I said, yeah. I said, this is how much confidence he's got in you, and yet you got no confidence in yourself. This is how much this guy respects you. Your own managing director, he respects you that much and values you that much as a member of the board, that he wants you there because he sees the value in you. And this is his investment in you, not in me, investment in you.
Yeah.
And you can almost see the tears in his eyes. And this is where I was told to leave the office.
Yeah.
And they agreed.
Wow.
But,
Wow.
you know, that's my first job. Maybe gone a little too long, but...
No, but it's interesting how you did that. But it wasn't, so the point being, for benefit of Edwin was, it wasn't actually a traditional mentoring role.
No.
But it was nevertheless
Well, he asked for the first job, that's how I ended up with the
it was
first
a
job.
lucrative deal,
Yeah.
and that, I'm assuming that would have given you the confidence to go on and do other things, just as, if not more lucrative than that, because you've already done something like that. So I suppose it's hitting that first target which gets people motivated to hit the next one. So we have another question from Omar. Omar is asking, how often do you advise businesses to review their strategies?
It depends on the size of the organization. If you're a
Yeah.
small organization,
Yeah.
you know, really speaking, just get on with it as long as you're getting results.
Yeah.
The bigger organizations, I always say, before you even consider revising the strategy, look at the optimization. Have you optimized what's already working in place? It's only when you've optimized everything.
Yes.
And in most cases, trust me, they've got so much optimizing to do that they don't even need to think of a new strategy.
You know what? That actually reminds me of doing a risk assessment, because we advise organizations. This might be of some value. We don't advise, usually people review risk assessments on a 12-monthly basis or an annual basis. We prefer to say periodically. Revising risk assessment is always good to tweak them up, first of all, more than anything else. But unless a significant change takes place, which may render the existing risk assessment void, there's no need to completely do a new one, but continue to review it. So I guess kind of the same principle. Would you agree, Mo?
Maybe.
Okay. We'll just leave it at that. So Rohini is asking, what's your morning routine? She's into fitness as well, I think. So
morning routine. I don't get up. My morning prayers in the morning. Then I'll spend about half an hour just literally looking at what I've got to do for the day. That's my proactive list. And just focus on that, and then off I go.
Excellent. Just a quick shout out for the people who contributed to the questions earlier. We had people like Abid Khan himself, Sarah Lou is a good friend of mine, Kul Mahay, Rosina, Nina Verk, Ralph Watson, Claire Wilkins, Julie Scott, Heather, Zahur, Farah, Ahmed, Zahid Bhatti, and Maria Pirali. What we're going to do, as mentioned on the post earlier, we have a bit of a surprise giveaway. Mo has kindly agreed to give away a 30-minute telephone conversation to one of the people who have contributed or taken part in the asking of questions or the comments from earlier posts. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these names later on, we'll put them in a hat, we'll draw one after this, and we'll make the announcement on the Pathway2Grow account. So keep an eye out for that, we'll tag you in. But thank you very much for joining us. If you have any more questions, feel free to put them into the comment section. I'm sure Mo will be around to answer some of your questions and hopefully elaborate on the queries that you may have. And I'm sure you all find a lot of value in that. And to be honest, I didn't even notice the 40 minutes go by and we were just getting warmed up. And it's always usually the case when you have good quality guests like this. I'm sure you'll agree. But once again, on behalf of the Pathway2Grow team, I would like to thank you, Mo, for coming to Pathway2Grow for us, P2G Live. We also have a lot of networking events taking place, face-to-face networking events, Chutney Chat, led by Abid Khan, Coffee and Netta, led by the likes of Lynn Carver, we've got Ian, Paul Lander, Fallon Price, we've got so much of Saturdays run by Nadia Rasool, and we have a load of, Serial networks. Oh, yes. Was it the first Tuesday?
Yeah.
First Tuesday of every month, we have the launch of the very first serial networks. It's a breakfast event. This is going to be hosted by the dynamic duo. We have Omar Rashid and Gurdas Singh. They are going to be hosting that. What's the building called? Alpha Tower in Birmingham. Alpha Tower, yeah?
Alpha Works.
Okay, because I thought I heard Eiffel Tower for a second then. won't mind going to Paris for a networking event, right? So yeah, join in with that. And we also have, I believe, on the 27th of this month, we've got the Business Growth Show at the Birmingham City Football Club, which is free to attend. We are expecting around 1,000 people there. If you'd like to be on this show, PTG Live, I'm going to be interviewing people at the BGS, at the Birmingham City Football Club for the Business Growth Show, including the delegates as well as the exhibitors. So come along, come and say hello, hi, and we'll make sure we give you a short interview so we can push your products and branding out there. But for myself, for now, and the team at Pathway2Grow at the head office, thank you very much, and it's good night until next time. Thank you very much.